Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our TNA and More show. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner Chuck.
Thanks, Billy. Gary Rhodes, everybody.
The first thing we want to talk about on this is the pay-per-view from Sunday night, TNA Turning Point. A nice pay-per-view. Started off, the first match of the night was Magnus vs. Joe. Really good match. These guys have been, this is what, about the third or fourth time they've had them either on pay-per-view or TV.
Yeah, and I really like the way these guys work together. Joe's really helping out Magnus right now.
Yeah.
You can see how he's working with him and stuff. And the thing, too, is the announcers actually mentioned Joe's Ring of Honor days.
Yeah, they mentioned him having the Ring of Honor title for almost 2 years, which it kind of threw me off a little bit because I don't think I've ever heard TNA mention Ring of Honor before.
No, half their top talent at the beginning were from Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Next we had the Tara Jesse from, what show?
Big Brother, I think.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? Versus ODB and EY. It was a solid match.
Decent EY coming back, doing all his EY spots. Good for the show. Not great, not horrible. We'll talk a little bit more about Jesse in his singles match later on because I have an opinion on it. And the next match was RVD versus Joey Ryan. I thought it was a decent match, a good real first match for Joey Ryan other than the Al Snow match.
I was liking it. I was not really highly impressed with Joey Ryan, but he was working pretty good against RVD.
The thing about it is Joey Ryan, his character is better than his ring work. And he does have a really good character. It's someone that you could buy into.
Now we had the next match after that was Joseph Parks versus Doc, director of Cabletown? What?
I thought it was Doc Gooden.
Here we go. Doc Severinsen.
Dr. Death.
What's up, Doc? Anyway.
Doc from the Seven Dwarfs.
There you go. Yeah.
Doc Hendricks.
Oh, that must be a rip. I liked the match, and I liked the fact that Joseph Parks was kind of abyssing up through the match when he saw his blood.
Here's my opinion, and it's something I said to you when we were watching the pay-per-view. I think that eventually they're going to explain the Abyss Joseph Park thing as Abyss has multiple personalities, and that's what started to come through in the match, and it's come through a couple other times in the Joseph Park matches, in my opinion.
I miss Abyss, I'll be honest with you. I like the Joseph Park thing, but right now they need Abyss more than Joseph Park.
It's good because it's given him a break from doing all the hardcore crazy shit.
True.
Which wrecks your body. Ask Mick.
Exactly.
But our next match tonight was the Tag Team Championship match. The Chavo and Hernandez versus the former Tag Team Champions, World Tag Team Champions of the world, Kaz and Daniels. It was a good match. Again, just like the Magnus vs. Joe, this is a match that they've shown us 3 or 4 times already. And the guys, they work well. They're all really good workers in the match, so it is what to expect on it.
I was disappointed with the outcome. I'd rather have seen Kaz and Daniels walk out with the gold.
Yeah. I agree.
After that match, we had AJ Styles versus James Storms versus Robert Roode.
Bobby Roode.
Or Bobby Roode. Well, he's either one.
Yeah, they call him both.
Storm gets over on AJ. Kind of a shocker.
A little bit. It's something that we discussed on last week's TNA show. I thought that AJ was going to be the odd man out because AJ hasn't been in the world title picture for a long time.
3 years.
And now it's going to be an even longer time. I don't know what the angle with it is. I don't know why he's not someone they're putting in their title division. I mean,
it was face of the company.
Yeah, it was kind of a stupid added-on gimmick to the pay-per-view anyway.
Yeah,
but
they should have just made it winner gets a title shot and that's it.
And that's it, yeah. But coming off of that, we had a Devon versus Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle trying to get retribution for the Aces and Eights jumping him.
I was more impressed with this match than I thought I'd be. I didn't really expect a lot of it. And they're both great workers, but there's such a different style between them. But they meshed up pretty good.
Well, Kurt Angle could work with absolutely anybody in the business and make him look good.
Yeah.
He can wrestle a ladder like Shawn did and make it look good.
Speaking of ladders, the ladder match for the TNA or Impact World Heavyweight Championship Aries versus Jeff Hardy.
You know, this is the second Jeff Hardy versus Austin Aries single match, and I thought this one, I liked this one a lot better than the first one. There was a lot of hard spots, a lot of real high spots in the match, some good flow, some good, maneuvers. I really liked when Aries took the controls and moved the belts up, so they had to go to the bigger ladder. They did that with Triple H before, didn't they?
I think Triple H, the corporation did it.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'll go on record here saying, if Jeff Hardy keeps wrestling like he's been wrestling with Aries, I want to see how he's going to work against the next opponent he goes against, which we'll talk about that later on. If he stays at that pace, I'll take it back on a lot of the things I've said about him.
Well, and the thing of it is, the good thing about Jeff Hardy is he is someone that brings eyes to your show.
Even when they're closed?
No. Even when they're closed, you can see he's got eyeballs on the outside, GR.
True.
Get with the times, man. That's later.
Yeah.
But anyway, overall, it was a decent pay-per-view. Again, my problem with a lot of the TNA pay-per-views, if they shoot them in the Impact Zone or whatever the hell they want to call it, it just looks like a TNA Impact show. They don't change the entrance. They put up maybe one poster. They could at least change the ring skirt.
Exactly. And they can use them over and over again in different,
Which brings up our question of the week from last week. If you watched the pay-per-view, what was your rating of it? Now, our opinion was, what did you think of it? What was your opinion? Well, how would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5?
1 to 5, I would say, I won't be harsh on it, say a 3.5.
3.5. I'm giving it a 2. Other than the three-way, the Devon and Kurt and Aries and Jeff, the whole thing felt like just a regular Impact show. I mean, the only match that couldn't have been on any Impact show was the ladder match. Everything else they wrestled like an Impact match. The look of it was an Impact look. It took it away from me. Well, I think they should take every pay-per-view out of the Impact Zone. I don't care if you go to Daytona. I don't care if you shoot them in Sebring, Florida. Shoot them somewhere different so it gives it a different look.
I was disappointed in the Joe and Magnus match just for the plain simple fact is they didn't do anything
revolutionary.
Exactly. There's no rules, no disqualification, and they didn't take that to the advantage.
Nah, it was a little bit here. But overall, I think this was one of the worst TNA pay-per-views of the year, in my opinion. I think they've put out a lot better. I think they've done a lot better on their TV. The last pay-per-view I was really high about, even though the guy that won, Jeff Hardy, wasn't who I wanted to win.
Well, that's what happens in the business.
Now, our next question for this week's TNA Impact is taped, and I know next week is as well. I think they're starting to go back to taping the Impact instead of live. Our question is, how do you guys like the fact that they came off of a pay-per-view, which should be a hot build-up, and went right to a taped Impact, which in my opinion, anytime you record a show, it takes something away from the show for me.
Spontaneity. Just a lot of stuff.
And plus the marks, us included, the marks will read the spoilers before the show comes on and then decide, okay, I don't want to see this match. I don't have any interest in this. Whereas if you're watching the show, you're watching whatever they put out there, and you're still glued to the screen because even if it's a bad match, something crazy can happen.
Exactly.
And that's my opinion. But anyway, what do you guys think about them going back to tape Impact shows? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on our Facebook. Hit us up on Twitter. Put it down where?
Down there.
Right down there in the comments. I gave it to them again.
All the time.
You gonna...
Oh, wait. Yeah.
No. You gotta go like this. You got the hockey jacket.
Oh, yeah. It's all in the hips, Chubbs.
Score another one for the tasty cakes.
Okay. Anyways, now we're going to start talking about the Impact show. Impact opened up with James Storm out there celebrating until Bobby Roode comes out and erupts. Sets for the main event for the night.
And Bobby Roode takes a shot at James Storm's daughter, which You know, if you're a man, you know that that's something you can't go to. See, a lot of people, and here's my little rant on this. A lot of people were pissed off and upset with the CM Punk Jerry Lawler angle, but I guarantee that people are totally fine with him talking about James Storm daughter turning 18 and her calling him.
Exactly.
In my opinion, that's worse because you're talking about a little kid.
Exactly.
And that's just my opinion on it. I didn't bother me
because it's wrestling.
It didn't bother me at all, but out of the two angles, it's worse in real life. I'd rather have you talk about anybody that died around me than talk about possibly wanting to have sex with a little kid. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
It's reprehensible, and it didn't bother me because, again, like you said, it's wrestling. I think it didn't add to the match, it didn't take from the match, but it was worse, in my opinion, than the Lawler situation.
After that rant, we're going to talk about the Kid Cash versus RVD match for the television title. In which point they bring up your favorite alma mater.
They bring up ECW. They bring up that Rob Van Dam has been an ECW World Champion.
And a WWE
champion. And a WWE Champion, which I don't know if this is something that's coming from the back for the announcers to acknowledge the people's pasts more, but they seem to be doing it more often, as for instance with the Samoa Joe Ring of Honor World title they mentioned on the pay-per-view.
Now this is the match you want to talk about.
This is a match I was really, really shocked in. Eric Young versus Jesse from Big Brother. Eric Young, we all know we like him. He's a really good wrestler, really good hand. Jesse came out, and he was more impressive in this match than he's been since he's been there. I don't know who's working with him, who's helping him, learn the ropes, basically. But in my opinion, he was a solid wrestler. If I didn't know any better, I would have said he'd been someone that's been wrestling 3, 4, 5 years. And I don't know if he has or not.
That's my same opinion, too. I was like, well, like I told him before the match, I was like, man, this is going to be a shit match. You guys going to be carrying him. But he didn't. It was a great match. I was impressed. Then we were going to have a rematch from the pay-per-view. It would be Magnus versus Joe again until the Aces and Eights jump him.
Yeah, Aces and Eights jump Magnus, take him out. It was their guy, I guess they hit with the dart earlier.
Which they didn't ever expose that, but like they did the week before with Kurt.
So it's good that they're hitting both faces and heels. I like that aspect of it. It helps solidify later in the night. Luke Gallows, a.k.a. Doc, gets to stay in Aces and Eights because of what they did to Magnus, basically.
Yes.
And that brings up the next segment, which was Austin Aries backstage. Goes to go in into the trainer's room because his back's hurt from the pay-per-view, and Jeff Hardy's already in there getting a massage. They do another inside Jeff Hardy's brain.
What a waste of time. I'm starting to get higher on Hardy, but if they keep doing stupid stuff like that, and I just don't like it. I think it's ignorant.
It's different, but
not in a good way.
Being different for different sake is
different.
Yeah, I mean, it's not impressive in my opinion. I agree with you. I think they're stupid. We shouldn't be able to hear what's inside a wrestler's brain. It's kind of like
cartoonish.
It kind of reminds me of the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior thing, when only Hulk Hogan could see the Ultimate Warrior in the mirror and none of the announcers could see him, but the wrestling fans watching the show could.
Exactly.
And that's what it reminded me of. It was dumb.
All right, then we had a tag match. After that, it was going to be Kurt Angle with Garrett Bischoff versus Devon and one of the Aces and Eights.
They didn't mention him by name, but it looks like it was a guy that Mike Knox is portraying. So, my thing, logic-wise, Aces and Eights have built up with the Doc character that they don't want you to unmask, that Devon unmasked for shock value, but no one else should be unmasking. So why throw a masked guy in there in a chance that he could be unmasked?
Exactly.
Logically. It's little stuff like that I think hurts the overall product. Little attention to details. I mean, and both companies do this. This is just not a knock on TNA. But that's a little detail that I picked up on that, I mean, I guarantee I'm not the only person that did.
Yeah, and the thing is, I liked about it was after the match, they're starting to get jumped, and Wes Briscoe comes out to break it up with a bat or with an aluminum pipe, and because it's an aluminum pipe, I'm not going to say steel pipe. I kind of like this aspect of it because Wes is going to be one of the aces in me. So I mean, I'm pretty sure he's the one with the long hair.
It might be, it might not be, that guy might never turn out to be anything.
I'm pretty sure it's Wes.
Anyway.
But anyways, I like the fact that if that's true and it's Wes, I like the way they're doing it.
Which they talk about Wes a little bit, where Kurt Angle tries to get them to let Wes be part of the gut check, the next gut check.
Why wouldn't he? You know what I mean?
Sure, why not? Give the kid a chance. But our next match of the night was the Knockouts Battle Royal for the #1 contendership. In my opinion, it was, we talked about it last week, you finally start bringing back some of these better wrestlers, Madison Rayne, Mickie James, you got ODB in there, Miss Tessmacher, I forget who the other one was. Gail Kim. There you go. You got the really good wrestlers in there, but you put them all in a battle royal, which is there's never been a really good worked battle royal.
And the thing is about it that gets me is they had Mickie James win, and I understand she's back, but the rivalries between Tara and ODB.
Yeah.
Why are you going to put the #1 contenders match and not have ODB get over?
I agree. It should have been ODB instead of Mickie James. I understand why they did Mickie James. I understand that Mickie James is someone they want to bring up as the face of that division. But
speaking of the faces of a company, AJ Styles comes out and talks about how he lost. They start to go at it, and the woe is me kind of thing until Kaz and Daniels comes out.
And they just rip into him. They let it loose. It sets up another AJ versus Daniels match.
One final one. So they say. I mean, you never know.
How many final ones are they going to have? I don't mind so much because I do enjoy them working together. I like AJ and Daniels both as singles wrestlers. I like them together. I think everything they do is pretty good. It was a good little furthering that feud, taking AJ out of the title picture. I would have liked AJ say, since I can't go for the world title, I'm going to go for the X title.
And could you imagine the matches him and RVD would have?
I mean, it's the title that he put on the map. The X Division's the division that AJ started. He was the first X Division champion and the standard bearer for the division for a long time.
Can't disagree with you.
Our next match, the main event, was something that made little sense. Again, another one of these little details to me that hurts the product. Bobby Roode versus James Storm, and James Storm's #1 contendership's on the line. Here's my opinion on this. You had the big deal with the pay-per-view of Storm winning the pay-per-view to get the #1 contendership. Now, 4 days later, he has it on the line, and he ends up losing it. So why not just put Roode over on the pay-per-view? That's who you wanted to go over. Why waste this match? I mean, exactly. It was dumb. It was really... It's just one of those little nuances to me that it was missing. And between this show and the pay-per-view, there was a lot of little mistakes that when you add them up, I mean, a little single mistake on a show could be overlooked.
Now, here's my thing.
But when you add them up, it's a lot.
Yeah, well, here's my thing. Between the show and the pay-per-view, if you ask me my opinion from 1 to 5, I would go down to a 2.
Yeah. The show, I mean, it wasn't great at times. Jesse surprised me.
That was that was probably the best surprise of the night, is the way, because I like seeing new talent come about, and that's what we're here for, I was impressed with that, but between the pay-per-view and that was the most impressive thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, that's sad. Out of 5 hours of wrestling, Jesse putting on a good match against EY was the high point of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this, again, you mentioned it. Here's another logic thing. The pay-per-view back, Roode and Storm have one of the most violent matches in TNA history, but tonight, Storm loses hitting an exposed turnbuckle?
Exactly.
I mean, they literally killed each other a month and a half ago, but
that was one of the best matches I've seen in a long time.
Now the turnbuckle kills him?
Exactly.
It just didn't make sense. And there was little lapses in logic overall, as you can tell by my demeanor during this whole show, overall I was really disappointed in the product that TNA put out this week.
Very disappointed. Like I said, it's bad when the high point was Jesse from Big Brother being the high point.
But basically, that's all I gotta say. Is there anything you need to add, JR?
Yes, there is one thing. Please subscribe to our channel.
It's totally free to subscribe. It's the easiest way for you to get out all our videos. Just subscribe, and they'll come up on your playlist. But that's all I got for this week. My name is George Coles.
I'm Gary Rhodes.
And this has been Heel Heat, our TNA show.